Yeah, that's really, really cool. Well, one of the other things that we had talked about as well is, the education environment is changing so fast and rapidly. And now after 2020 and a lot of the challenges that occurred then of moving more learning to virtual, and you're seeing, Florida virtual school becoming more prominent, and then you still have your standard classroom setting. Share with us some of the challenges that you see between the two, and also dispel some of the myths around your tutoring, either face-to-face or virtually.
So when the pandemic happened, everything was virtual. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of the older students, maybe fourth and fifth graders as well. I mean, we know the gaming industry is big all over. So what they do is, because you're in front of the computer, some of them would just minimize the screen and play their video games. You're looking at the screen playing your video game, but it looks like, they're looking at the teacher while they're playing. Well, the teacher's not there, so they can't really tell. But they've gotten used to this. And so now they have gaps because they didn't pay attention to math, reading, or their ELA class. So now they have gaps because they were playing. So there's a big myth with a lot of parents that, oh no, my child can't learn virtually because this is what they were doing during the pandemic and their grades suffer. So now parents believe, no, we can't do virtual. It has to be face-to-face. Every child is different. Can a student learn while doing virtually? Absolutely, 100%. The difference is how they're engaged. If you don't have them engaged while they're doing a session, like you and I right now on Zoom, you can be watching a movie in the background, but you and I are actually having a conversation and we're going back and forth based on questions. That's how you can tell if they're still engaged, right? We can use the whiteboard and start writing numbers. They have the ability of writing numbers right back so that you can see their work. So the student has to be engaged if they are doing a virtual session, the same way as they're going to be engaged when they're doing tutoring face-to-face. The only difference is face-to-face, we're standing right next to them or across from them, and we're doing the work on the paper. The sheet of paper or whatever worksheet they're working on is still going to be on the Zoom. It's just that we're on the other side of the computer. So engagement is definitely the biggest thing. Virtual, face-to-face, they'll learn either way. But a lot of parents, I think, because they saw the grades after the pandemic that it wasn't so good, that's why they ended up saying, oh no, it can't be virtual. It has to be face-to-face. So, but they can learn both in both manners.
Well, and you bring up two really good points. One, we talked about the gap before. So it's really being honest and taking a good assessment of our students and our children of what impact did that have on their schoolwork, and where are there gaps that are hidden that we don't know. And so it's reaching out to someone like yourself to help us to figure that out, of what were the core things that they should have learned in the grade that they were in during 2020 and part of 2021, of like, what do we need to do to fill that gap, and finding, again, good skills and abilities to be able to do that. The second thing that I want people to really pay attention to what you had shared is that you can gain both virtually as well as face-to-face. Now, again, face-to-face does have that energy that you have, but just like in work situations that most of us encounter now, this is the way we communicate. It's an acceptable way of communication. Yeah. And if you don't have 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on either side of the appointment to bring your student to you, virtual is a great option to be able to plug in just about anywhere. Every kid I know has at least one ear pod, because I see them walking around with one ear pod in all the time.
Yep.
They can set up anywhere and have a session with you. What would be the best environment if someone was going to schedule a virtual tutoring session with you? What would be the best environment for them to be in?
Somewhere where there's less foot traffic, less distractions. And normally, if they do face-to-face, I say come into the office versus me coming to the home. Why? The dog's not going to walk around where the child's going to play with the dog. The TV is not going to be on where they're like, oh, let me go ahead. I really like this commercial, or, so if they're going to be doing it virtual, it doesn't matter if it's in the living room, the dining room, their room, wherever there's less foot traffic, because the last thing we want, if we're engaging them, we want them to stay focused on us. So the less distractions there are around, the more engagement we can have with the student.